Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to our live stream here from the industry stage at Formnext 2023. And after Terry's amazing insights, let's have a look on our technology from a totally different standpoint. Our next speaker addresses the topic additive manufacturing at the tipping point, trends, challenges, and opportunities. Paul Schmidt is Senior Research Analyst at 10x DNA and is very familiar with new technologies based on technical innovations. With a background of research in robotics at the MIT and Harvard Medical School, he surely is qualified to present his view on additive manufacturing. Paul, I really look forward to your speech and leave the stage for you. Enjoy.
Yes, thank you very much, Sven, and hello and welcome everyone to my presentation about additive manufacturing at the tipping point. A lot of things happened in the additive manufacturing world in the last couple of months, and today I want to speak about the trend, challenges and opportunities we see in the market. Since I work at an investment fund, I have to give a very short disclaimer that this is not an investment advice. And as Sven already said, I'm a senior research analyst at 10x DNA. We are a German-based technology fund solely investing in disruptive technologies, and we take a look at the markets from like an investor perspective, but also talk a lot with the customers and technology providers. I have a background as an industrial engineer from RWTH Aachen and worked as a technology scout at Bosch and as a visiting researcher at MIT before joining 10x DNA. But let's jump into the presentation. Where are we currently from a market perspective in the additive manufacturing world? The expectations for the 3D printing world or market are at a historic low. I just brought you the chart from the total 3D printing index from the company Selective. And as you can see, the valuations are currently lower than in 2018. What can we see in this chart? We can see this drastic decline with the COVID market crash, followed by a very sharp increase in the valuations of 3D printing stocks. Where does this come from? On one end, the zero interest policy, which was at the time, as well as a lot of merger and acquisitions which happened in the world. And after February 21, unfortunately, the market just saw one way downwards. From this current position, we see three scenarios which can happen. On one hand, that the adoption of 3D printing stagnates and it will solely be used for prototyping. As most of you know, 3D printing isn't used for prototyping anymore, so we don't believe that this is a... One moment. So now it's better? Okay. So we don't believe that this is like a likely scenario. The second scenario we see is that there will be a slow adoption in the market with just some limited further innovations. And the third scenario, and that's the one where we at 10x DNA believe the most in, is that we will have a broad adoption of 3D printing in the future. And this comes from external market dynamics as well as internal innovations which come from the industry. Let's start with the market dynamics. For the market dynamics, we speak from the customer perspective. And there we see four focus areas which will lead to this broader adoption. Higher product requirements, a focus on supply chain resilience, a sustainability drive, and mass customization. If we take a look at use cases, we see more and more products which have so high product requirements that you need more complex geometries to produce them. And 3D printing is perfectly suited to produce these complex geometries, or some conventional manufacturing methods aren't able to produce these. Secondly, supply chain resilience is a clear industry trend. If we take a look at the earning reports of all S&P 500 companies, reshoring was mentioned 128% more often than in the year before. And to put this into a perspective, this is even more than AI, even though we are in like this very high hype cycle in this technology. The third area is sustainability drive. According to Ralf Anderholstedt von Daimler Trucks and Buses, more than 20% of all spare parts across all industries get disposed without being used at all. And this is not just a high economic burden, but there are also like billions of US dollars laying around in warehouses around the world. And 3D printing can solve this issue. And the fourth point is mass customization. We already see plenty companies which achieve this or make very successful businesses out of this. The most popular one is Invisalign from Align Technologies, which makes billions of revenues just by using 3D printing in a very smart way. But also the technology providers had laid a very solid foundation for 3D printing. In the past years, technology providers focused on cost efficiency, quality, developing new materials, as well as increasing the process speed. On top of that, they also focused on new software capabilities and a very versatile product offering. But we think on top of this foundation, technology providers have to focus on 3 other areas to remain technology providers in the future, or like technology leaders in the future. The first one is artificial intelligence. Why? Artificial intelligence can solve 2 very big issues in the industry. On one, it's the user experience. Currently, a lot of customers are still struggling with integrating 3D printing into their portfolios, since it's pretty tough to use the technologies. AI can make it easier or more accessible for customers. The second point is you can increase all the foundation parameters I mentioned before with the help of AI. The second point is digital warehouse, or incorporating digital warehouse capabilities into the processes. This doesn't mean that every technology provider has to build their own digital warehouse on their own, but they have to be open to integrate connectivity into their printers and cooperate with other providers to make this a successful possibility in the future. The third point is the physical integration into production. We see a lot of new technologies entering the market, from robotics over IoT and other areas. And we believe that we are now at a point where all of these technologies can come together and make like an automated process with the help of 3D printing possible. And that's why it's very important to form collaborations and make this possible in the upcoming years. Instead of just talking about like what we see over the market, I wanted to bring you also like a quick user story, talking about how the future of industrial additive manufacturing might look in the future. Let's imagine an OEM where a critical machining part breaks, and nowadays this could take days or even weeks until the part is replaced. In the future, the company could scan this broken part with a high-resolution scanner and have a digital copy of this part. Afterwards, this part can be put into a software and be reconstructed with the help of AI. And here it even doesn't stop, because we already have parametric design softwares on the market which can improve the topology and make the part more durable by strengthening it at the point of need. Since we have this optimized part, it can't be produced anymore with conventional technologies. So 3D printing is required to produce a part, and it's possible to produce a part in a couple of hours or within a day. After the successful printing, the part can be uploaded as a digital twin, since we already collected all the data, and it can be stored in the digital warehouse of the company so that you can use it for predictive maintenance in the future. Last but not least, the machine is fixed and enhanced using AI and 3D printing, and what could have been a downtime of several days is fixed within a day. And that's just like a very quick fact. All of the images you saw here were also generated by AI. Some key takeaways of this presentation. First of all, we at 10x DNA believe that we are at a pivotal point in the industrial additive manufacturing market. This is driven by some external market dynamics as well as internal factors from the technology providers, which can catalyze the widespread adoption. And as a third point, leading technology providers must prioritize AI, digitization capabilities, and the physical integration on top of the foundation they laid in the years before. That's the end of my presentation. I'm always happy to talk about 3D printing, so feel free to connect with me. And on the right-hand side, you can scan the QR code to get our white paper for free. Thank you very much.
Big applause, Paul. To be honest, Paul, I liked your presentation a lot, and I'll tell you why. Because we are talking all the time about obstacles and what is hindering us in order to grow more, etc. And honestly, I must admit, I have a super positive feeling after this Formnext or during this Formnext because we saw so many end users already integrating AM into their production, especially the example you presented us with the spare part being exchanged. That's something that we heard yesterday from Danfoss, from the Lego Group, etc.
Yeah.
Awesome. So I must ask you, as you gave the announcement not having an investment tip for us, but nevertheless, I mean, you gave us a really excellent broad overview of our technology. Where do you see, let's say, the key technology for the moment that will grow fastest?
Yeah, fastest.
Without any investment tip,
Yeah,
I
that's
promise.
a very good question. I on purpose put out any company, right? So I didn't want to talk, since we also have companies in our portfolio, but I wanted to give like a very unbiased view about the market today in this presentation. But as I mentioned, like, it's very important that even if you are a hardware player, that you have the software capabilities in-house. And we see this pretty often when we even speak like with many of the technology providers that at least we believe it's not in everyone's head at the current moment. So when we take a look at companies, we check like very much in depth how big the capabilities are in this, which doesn't mean that the hardware capabilities aren't important, right? It's super important to have the high quality, the reliability in the processes, but that's something which is needed on top to be successful in the upcoming years, in our opinion.
And that's funny that you mentioned that, because this morning I had Nicholas on stage from Boeing, and we discussed heavily the use of AI in their development and focusing on AM. And I asked also the question, where does this software knowledge comes from? Because I mean, this is an issue. You have either end user or even AM producer of machines or whatever software platform. They all need to get external help, don't they? I mean,
most of the players, it's true.
Yeah. And how do you see the development of AI in our technology? Are the people aware of that they need it, or is it still like some niche suppliers that...
To be 100% honest, like, I think everyone has it at least to a certain degree in his mind, but I think like for the opportunities it's opened, it must have a way higher position as it currently has in many heads.
Very good. There is one question from the audience, and as I appreciate it, I want to hand it over to you, whether you can answer or not. It's your decision.
Totally.
So there is multicolor 3D printing viable in the current market?
Oh, that's a very good question. Since I didn't want it to focus on specific players or technologies, and I think it's a very clear niche, I would happy to discuss this later, but I wouldn't answer this on stage.
Yeah, very good. Let me ask another question. 10x DNA, how much is the focus on additive? Because you mentioned you're focusing on technologies overall, especially in the manufacturing field, but what is the amount of focus you gave to AM?
Yeah, totally. So out of like all the technologies which we have in the world at the moment, right, coming from biotech to like AI to autonomous driving, 3D printing is one of the core 10 technologies we see, and that's why it's also a high part of like our font, basically. Very
good. So for any startup out there, get in touch with Paul, because he have really got some good insights to share. Same for the end customer. Paul, it was a pleasure to have you on stage at Formnext. Good luck with your activities in the future. Looking forward to see you next time. Thank you, Paul.
Looking forward.
Big applause. Paul Schmidt, ladies and gentlemen. We had another question from the audience. I want to quickly answer it because it was not regarding Tom. So all of these talks and presentation you see here on stage will of course be recorded and be available afterwards in our Formnext center. So once you have registered, you can watch any of these talks again afterwards in order to get another glimpse of what you have seen here on this stage. So I will leave you now with some more highlights of Formnext, and after that, my beloved colleague Frank will greet you with another exciting insight. So please stay tuned. See you there.